Ivy Cordova, how the hell are you?
I am running around like a chicken with my head cut off. How's your morning?
Not bad, not bad. I've been up about an hour and a half. I like to take my morning real slow and enjoy my coffee, and then but right now is usually the time I'm making breakfast. So I had my breakfast a little bit early because I didn't want to like start feeling hungry and angsty during the interview. I didn't want to get hangry on you.
Angry? No, I totally appreciate it. And I'm so sorry that I wasn't more respectful of your time. I really thought I'd have more time in between driving to Fremont and Hayward, because especially in COVID, like traffic now is like literally, it's like non-existent.
Yeah, yeah.
But I didn't factor in the laptop that I had not being charged, because my personal laptop is what my son is using for school rather than the MacBook that my dad got him. So here
Ah,
we are.
you're the second mom to mention the whole laptop situation with their son uh,
Absolutely.
in the last 24 hours that I've talked to. Yeah.
Who's the other one?
My friend Dana was telling me that she had a work laptop, but she's in between jobs right now. So her son had been using her personal laptop, but now she needs that laptop back so that she can start applying for jobs.
Oh yeah.
But she's pretty sure that the school would provide a book, but she hadn't looked into that because they didn't need to worry about that up until
Yeah,
days
they
ago.
thought they like we thought we had a laptop, and we have probably like four different laptops in this house. I have a personal MacBook, which I'm on right now.
Uh-huh.
A MacBook Air that my dad, like, it's so weird, like how Filipinos, like, it's weird because I get on my parents all the time about like keeping stuff, not that they're hoarders, but I feel like most immigrant parents have that mentality. And so I
Definitely.
get on them about keeping stuff. And of course, the one thing that they have laying around is an extra MacBook. I was like, who does that? Who has an extra fucking computer laying around? Like, that's some Filipino old people privilege. Like, I'd love to have an extra laptop running like around my house. The one that I actually have for Jacob, see how little this is? This is like so little. Not that I want to bounce it around, but it's like tiny.
It's
So I
compact.
feel like it's more his size, but he's been using this one, which is a MacBook Pro. And you know what's weird? Like, I got this serviced maybe a month or so ago, and I was told that my laptop is actually considered, it's from 2013, so it's considered vintage.
What?
Right? I was like, it has a keyboard. Like, I don't have to plug any like additional external things into it to make it work. Fucking, we're obviously talking on Wi-Fi. Like, vintage, really? Like, you're putting it in the same category as rotary phones and phone booths. Like,
Yeah,
that just
and
feels
20-year
weird.
old cars. Yeah. Like a car's got to be 20 years old to be considered vintage. I think that's the
Agreed.
rule. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. So you already got up and worked out this morning.
I did. So I took a few days off last week from, and I'm not like super hardcore about it. It's just more like this whole quarantine. I just, because of not lack of time, but it's just I wanted to have something to do. I took part in like 3 different fitness challenges, and so I was basically going hard for a few months. And I also forgot that I'm 39. So I realized, like, the recovery time is not the same. So I took a few days off last week. I started up again on Thursday, and I went to Barry's boot camp, which is currently the one in the South Bay is meeting up like on the rooftop of this parking garage. And it was like the hottest week in San Jose. And I was just like looking up at the sky, like, fuck my life.
It's
I was like, I paid for this. I got to be here.
so fitness is something that you've kind of taken on in the last, is it the last year or so? You've had
Yes.
some success, right?
What's that?
You've had some success with your fitness in the last.
Yeah. Like the last few years, actually, because this sort of goes back to when I was just getting out of my marriage. It was like, kind of traumatic in some ways, and it was just more so taking a toll on my body. Like, I think emotionally, like, I felt fine, but like at that point, I had to go back on blood and pressure medication. I'm pretty sure I was on like at least 3 to 4 different like depression medications, like that kind of stuff. And so I remember talking to my primary care, like, I got to turn this around, especially since, I used to work out more like before, like before I got married, couple years after my son was born, so around the 2010 mark, I was actually running. I was doing like half marathons and, 5Ks and 10Ks and things like that. And so fitness was always a part of my life that way. And the fact that I abandoned it for like some 5 or 6 years, it really kind of took a toll on me, because at that point I hadn't figured out how to balance like, personal life, home time, exercise, and things like that. And so when I got out of my marriage, I was just like, okay, I got to get myself back in shape, like physically, mentally, whatever, because, I'm getting to the point where I want to be around for my son's milestones. You know what I mean? I don't want to be that stereotypical exhausted mom wearing wearing stretch pants all the time and drinking wine and, joking about how awful parenthood. Like, I just didn't want to do that. Like, I was just like, I feel like my son deserves better, especially since he's like an active kind of like track and field kind of kid. So the last few years, I just started incorporating more of this stuff back into my life. And then finally I got some consistency with my current job when one of the gyms I go to now, I discovered it through ClassPass, and it was across the street. It was like across the street practically from where I work in downtown San Francisco, which is Barry's Boot Camp. Because the other gym that I was working at were these guys, and I still work out with them. That's actually where I came back from today. These guys that I've known them since before my son was born. And the reason I enjoy working out with them the most probably is because, we've all become good friends over the years, but also I feel like they have some credibility because in high school, they all used to be fat. So, okay. Which made more sense to me, especially like with my up and down struggles, because I don't need some fucking like 98 Lululemon wearing blonde bitch to tell me about nutrition. Like, it's clear that I need some help, but I want to take it from somebody that knows where I'm coming from.
Who knows the struggle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It just some parts of the fitness community don't make sense to me. So, I've searched for like the help with people that I feel like know where I'm coming from with this and kind of get why it's a struggle in the first place.
Yeah, and I really like that you. I picked up that you said that you felt that you were struggling like physically and mentally. So did you take on both of those at the same time, or did you kind of like work on your mental first and then get to your physical?
For me, like I've been in psychotherapy for about 10 years. Like I utilized back when I was an undergrad, I utilized our college's mental health services pretty often. And then, I've always been aware that there was something. I never could figure out what, because it's sort of stigmatized in Asian American and Filipino culture to really like get in the nitty gritty about mental health. Well, maybe not the way it is now, because I think now people are more open to having a dialogue about it. But, back when I was in my 20s, when I was in my teens, it's not like my parents didn't care. It was just more like, suck it up. Like, it wasn't really talked about. Yeah. But I always had a feeling that there was something like underneath that I couldn't figure out. And when I finally got my like diagnosis after a really bad like postpartum depression after I had my son in 2008, he's 12 now. I was just like, I really got to take this shit seriously. So I like when I had Kaiser, I had a fantastic therapist. I was with that therapist for a long time, and then when I changed jobs about 4 years ago and I no longer had Kaiser, I told my therapist, look, I still need to figure out a way to see you, even though I'm on different insurance. So now I'm one of his private practice patients, which is a little bit, it's like $130 an hour. But, I think for, on the upside, especially in the last couple of years, I've had to see him less and less frequently as I've gotten more control over like my life and like my mental state and things like that. And to be honest with you, I think fitness was a huge part of that because, I didn't even really think about, man, like I gotta lose weight. It's just more like I gotta be in a better place physically, like as far as like being able to keep up. But the side effect too was that I lost a ton of weight because it was just, I think really what I sought out when I started doing my workouts was like the endorphins and the mental clarity and stuff like that. I feel like maybe that's sort of what's getting me through quarantine, and the fact that I've been able to keep my spirits up is the fact that I've tried to stay active, tried to keep those endorphins going, try not to be like super lazy. But it's also hard. Like, I feel like sometimes I hesitate from telling people that because, I want to check my own privilege as being like an able-bodied person. And, not everybody can get up and like go do a million fucking kickouts like I pay people to tell me to do. So, but this is what's worked for me, and this is what's keeping my spirits up, like mentally, especially in the last like few years.
But at the same time, when you tell the stories about that, you get up and you do these things, like it motivates people like me, and it motivates, because like I've struggled with my weight, and like, I struggled with my weight like forever, and then like I realized like late in my, like probably in my mid to late 30s, that like, oh, it's my mental, like this is all mental, like I need to fucking fix my head, I need to get my head right, and then that's going to, help me take the steps to getting the rest of this right, so it's something that I've struggled with. And it wasn't until like maybe like the last 5 to 7 years that I've had like a really good clarity about, like, I catch myself when I'm slipping into a depression, and I realize that like this reckless behavior is a result of these other, like how you said, these underlying issues that hadn't been addressed.
Yeah.
So I guess the point I was trying to make is like, when you speak, when you talk about that, there might be like a certain audience that you feel that you're alienating, that you're coming from a place of privilege, but there's this broader audience, believe me, that like needs to hear that and
I appreciate that.
Yes, yeah, and I'm so glad that one of the things I wanted to tell you too is like, I'm so glad that I was able to talk with you a little bit on the Gag on This podcast, because like I've been a huge fan of yours, like since I saw you at the Invisible Disabilities show.
I remember that.
Yeah, maybe I was over a year ago, right?
Were you doing comedy at that time? Like, were you like, had you begun doing comedy at that point?
I had just started doing comedy at that time. Yeah, because I've only been doing comedy, like September will be 2 years.
Congrats.
Yeah, thanks. That I've been doing comedy, and since like the first 2 or 3 months that I was doing comedy, and when I'd come off stage, I would be just like exhausted. Like even like a 5-minute set, like I would start getting worried, like I'd start to get tired. And then like I started getting to the point where like people were asking me to do like 7 minutes and 10 minutes and 12 minutes and 15 minutes. And I was like, shit, I don't know if I can stand up that long,
Yeah.
And, or if I can't be, because like one of the reasons I quit doing improv was like I couldn't get physical enough to keep up with the rest of the team.
Improv is demanding like that. Were you doing it at the Comedy Spot?
Yeah.
Nice.
Comedy Spot. Yeah.
That's a nice place.
Oh yeah, it's great. And so September 2018 is when I started doing comedy, and then like December 2018, I was like, all right, I'm gonna do. I felt that like my last choice was to do the gastric bypass surgery, right? So I went to the orientation, and I went through the whole orientation. I went through the steps and like, here, you're here, you're going to get to do the surgery here. And the more I read about it and the more like I looked into it, I was just like, I just got to do this on my own, because like, one, I enjoy eating. Like I enjoy cooking. I enjoy smelling. I enjoy shopping. I enjoy making you a dinner, making my roommate a dinner. Like I enjoy that. And when you do the gastric bypass surgery, nothing against those people, but they are gonna lose a lot of that, because like overeating,
it limits what they can eat. It's physically, it narrows like the amount of thing that your stomach can hold. Have you known people in your life that have had that surgery?
Yeah, I've known a handful of people, and they have their ups and downs, and it's very seldomly they had the surgery and now everything is great. It's more like they had the surgery, everything is great. Oh shit, they put back on a lot of the weight. And to me, it just really was like, okay, this has to be a complete lifestyle change. And it can't be, because one of the things that like really weighed in my mind is like, I love watching old TV shows. Like I love watching Leave It to Beaver.
Yeah.
I love Lucy, right?
Yeah, the late night, like old school Nick at Night Sunday shows kind of thing.
And then like two things struck me is like, one, all of those people were in great shape. Like you never see fat people in the old TV shows.
No.
And two, those people never spent an hour and a half of their day going to and from the gym. It was just like a more active lifestyle.
Yeah, it was different back then. Like I think people, especially in certain communities, people would like walk to the market. Like it wasn't so get in your car, everything's so far apart and spread out. Like, like what it's like living in like LA and SAC, you have to drive at least 20 minutes to get somewhere. kind of thing. I think you're right. The lifestyle was just very, very different. And I'm sure also portions weren't as huge as they are now.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what, so, okay. So that's something like the portions. So I recently went on like a really good run where like I lost, like I've been losing weight and I hit this really good milestone that I've been wanting to hit. I mean, I'll tell you about it. Like, um, when I started comedy, I weighed like 475, 470 pounds, right? When I started the gastric bypass surgery stuff, I was like, okay, I changed my diet. When I decided I don't want to do the surgery, I was like, I'm just going to change my diet, change my lifestyle. And then, like a month and a half ago, I finally hit, like, I got off the scale one morning and I was 399 pounds. Like, for the first time, like in 20 years, I was under 400 pounds.
Damn, that's awesome.
Yeah. And it just fucking, like, so then I relaxed a little bit, right? I let up a little bit. And you know what it was is like, what I told myself is like, working from home, I'm going to get out every day during lunch and take a drive and go to a local, like not McDonald's, not Jack in the Box, not the chicken
Not
place.
fast food.
Yeah, but go to like El Forastero, this fish and chips place, and order locally, right? And at least put some money back into my neighborhood. But
yes,
even with that, like for the three or so weeks after that, like I just kept yo-yoing between like 399, 397, 401, 39, and because the portions because even though it's not processed, even though it's not frozen, what they're serving you is still a big portion, and
it's ginormous, especially in America. Like I before, obviously prior to Corona, I traveled a lot for my job, and also just in general, because most of the people in my family, like they live like far away. So it's like, if we don't travel, we don't see them. And there was one week I had a work thing. I was in Japan and I took my kid with me because he was 8 and and at that point I was like, you know what, when else am I going to get to go to Japan on practically somebody else's dime? Right. I might as well take my kid. So I took him with me. And here's the thing, people in Japan, they love to eat like, they're fans of like juices and breads and cakes and croissants, and the food is like really, really rich, but it's in like tiny ass, like fucking like little portions. Like me and my son went to Starbucks because that was our thing. It's like whenever we're in a foreign country, we try to go to like our favorite chains and see like, the Japanese version of Starbucks, the Philippines version of Starbucks, Korean Starbucks. And we went to the Japanese Starbucks. A grande was like probably not even the size of what's considered a tall. It was like the smaller. It was like their medium was like our tiny. Just like, or maybe the other way around. They had a tiny size that would have been like our medium.
Wow.
Yeah, like the portions were much, much smaller. Like I think there was also one place that had like, I think, was it a curry bun? And I love curry buns. I love anything with curry in it. It's just, that's my shit. But it was like more the size of a small. You ever had those like King Hawaiian rolls, the sweet roll?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Not lately, but yes.
Right. No, I love those rolls, by the way. Like, just so good. Anyway, the bun was like that size, and if I had the same thing in America, I guarantee you that bitch would have been the size of my fist.
Well, in America, that would be part of your appetizers.
Yeah. Like I can't. Sometimes, even as an American, I still can't believe that when you go to Red Lobster, that you just get those biscuits. Like, really? Like, that's part of it? Like, really? And which I love, by the way. I haven't been in at least a couple of years, but
that's the only reason to go to Red Lobster.
Exactly. I was just like, fuck their shrimp. Give me some biscuits. Like my growing up, like me, my cousins, most of us we worked in service industry jobs before we, got like jobs in more like, I guess, the professional sector. Like they work in healthcare, they're doctors or nurses. I work in tech. But before that, we all worked in, I feel like it should be a requirement to work in the service industry. Like we all worked in bars and restaurants. I worked in nightclubs, and I had an internship. I think I told you this on the last podcast. I had an internship for a whole year at the Exploratorium, and I balanced that with a job at Old Navy and a job working bar back and door at this nightclub in San Francisco. And I remember one of my favorite memories when my older cousins would come home from their like their waitressing jobs. My favorite one was when she worked at Red Lobster, because we had those biscuits like every Thanksgiving. Yeah. Like it was just such a part of like the growing up experience, which is why I also, you know, would probably, I don't want to say discourage surgery, but like, yeah, like with you, eating is such a huge part of my life. Like I think about how biscuits and Stouffer's lasagna evoke memories for me of my, you know, family gatherings and things like that. So, I mean, I feel like it's easier to just make a lifestyle change rather than something drastic that's going to just reduce the amount of stuff that, you know, you get to even put in your face in the first place.
One of the things that I'm really enjoying, that I really enjoy doing right now, and it was really inspired by watching Ugly Delicious on Netflix. Have you seen that show?
I have not.
It's David Chow's Ugly Delicious, and what the premise of it is that like he took all these traditional Korean dishes and he made them healthier, right?
Okay, I have seen that show.
Yeah, and so
my parents have been watching a lot of cooking, food-related shows over this break.
And so what would happen is like he would go to his mom and talk to his mom about like the recipe or what it was, and you know the textures and the smells and the taste, and then he would tweak it and try to keep the same smells, texture, try to keep the same memory from his childhood, but bring it into 2020 where it's clean, healthy, not processed. And his mom would be like, "That is ugly. What is that?" And then she would taste it and smell it. And she'd be like, "Oh shit, you did it, right?" So it's Ugly Delicious. So like one of the things for me right now is like trying to like bring some of the foods back from my childhood that I really enjoyed, but like some of the stuff like I just can't, like tortillas, done. Like I broke up with bread, it's like done. But like one of my latest things is mole. Like
I love mole.
I love mole. And you know, the first time I made mole, like I made it from scratch, it ended up costing like $50 like to make like a batch of mole. And like I was talking to my mom about it, and she was like, "Well, what the hell did you do?" And I was like, "Well, I bought all the ingredients." She's like, "No, dummy, just go buy the instant." And she's like, "Yeah, just buy the instant and tweak that."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Fuck." So
you really busted your own ass for the classic, though. You know what I mean? That's dedication.
Yeah, and then but now I learned how to just make the instant, and I'm fucking putting mole on everything. I'm getting on my sister's last nerves because like I have like a text group with my sisters and a couple of my nephews and nieces, and we're all trying to help each other stay on track with our eating, so we share our meals. And they're like, "I'm afraid to look, Jesse, because what the fuck did you put mole on today?" And like I'm putting it on my breakfast omelets. Like I'm making omelets. Like I'm making
mole with eggs and vegetables.
I'm making omelets with bell peppers, mushrooms, onions, cheese, and then spreading mole on top of it.
Yum.
And
oh,
they're like,
amazing.
They're like, "That's gross," and I'm like, "That's ugly delicious." Like I try to like tell them like, this is what I'm doing, and like they kind of get it, but they still like look at it like, I don't know, you know. But one of the things I'm trying to circle back to you about is that like, so when I fucked up and started eating out, I knew I needed to change it up, and I needed to figure out like what I was gonna do for lunch, because like my breakfasts are good, like I'm not fucking up on breakfast. My dinners are good, I'm not fucking up on dinner. But where I was messing up was lunch. That's when I put the call out on Facebook for people to share with me what was their favorite thing from Trader Joe's.
I remember that conversation.
Yeah.
Because Trader Joe's is so clutch, dude. Like some of their stuff is so easy.
And I had never fucked with the jasmine rice. And like,
it's so good. It's so easy. It's like 3 minutes.
I cannot believe like this life hack was just something I was walking by every day at Trader Joe's, and like, dude, that has saved me the last 2 weeks. I've had rice probably maybe every day, at least every other day.
Wow. The entire time that I've lived, and I'm like 39 years old, like the entire time that I've lived away from home, I have never owned or used a rice cooker, just because I remember like I grew up like, you know, making rice for my family and having to clean that shit. And, you know, it's not like super difficult, especially since like Asian rice cookers, they take the guesswork out for you. But just knowing that I can have rice in 3 minutes as opposed to 15 coming from a rice cooker.
And not have to clean anything afterwards.
Yeah, like for me, I like to clean it because I hate it's way harder when you let it dry and then the rice sticks to the pan and then
Yeah,
you gotta use like some extra like industrial fucking like arm strength shit just to clean it. And I remember that being the bane of my existence, like fuck this, I want to watch comedy or just like it just I never wanted to. It traumatized me as a kid, so I was like, which is stupid. So I was like, you know what? Let me just make my life easier and just find this life hack. And I found it in the freezer section of Trader Joe's.
man, the jasmine rice has saved my ass the
It's
last,
so good, isn't
like I
it?
said, like the last 2 weeks. Like I bought one box to try it out, and then like I came home and I was looking at it, and I was like double reading the ingredients and like looking, because like one of the things that I fear is like I fear sodium and sugar. Like I just
Yeah.
like I stay so far away, and I was like, oh, this is not bad. Like this is fine. And I was like 3 minutes just in the same bag, and I was like, can't be this easy. But it is. And so now, and then I don't know, somebody else recommended the shredded beef, like so it's beef that's already all chopped up.
So sort of like their is it like barbacoa type stuff or like was it shredded or just
It's
chopped?
shredded, but it's not cooked yet, so it's raw and it's already nice. It's all cut up, and it's like $10 a pound, but it's so easy. Like you just throw it in. So like what I did this week is like I threw that in. I threw in like onion and mushrooms,
Oh,
and I sautéed that up, and then I did the rice, and then I just mixed it all up, and I had made myself like a bowl. And
that's
I
perfect.
Yeah, and like with that 1 pound package of it, I got 3 servings out of it. So I had like a dinner and 2 lunches. And
Anything that resembles like any kind of like Chipotle type bowl where you have like your protein, you have your veggies, you have always like anything that can fit in the confines of a bowl, that's my shit.
yeah, yeah, and it's been working out. And then I've also been fucking around with the less, like I haven't used salt as seasoning. Like I used to be like a salt and pepper guy. Like that's all I used, because like I was so like of the Anthony Bourdain school of like, if you can't make a good meal with just salt and pepper, then you can't do it. But
You're a terrible cook.
yeah, but now I'm doing a lot of garlic powder and adding heat with cayenne,
Oh
and
yeah.
hardly any salt and hardly any pepper. Now it's about the garlic powder and the cayenne right now.
For me, I like garlic pepper. I like garlic powder, onion powder. I also really like the mushroom, like umami powder from Trader Joe's. And I also really like their, this isn't Trader Joe's, but I also get this at I usually get this at an Asian market. I like white pepper.
Okay,
I
okay.
am convinced that white pepper is one of the ingredients in like KFC. You know, like how they have like the blend of spices or whatever. I'm convinced white
Yes.
pepper is one of those spices.
But so the white pepper, you have to get that in an Asian market.
I feel like some markets now, like Rayleigh's or Safeway, I feel like there's more of a selection of like Asian markets, but I would check Ranch 99 or just at your local Asian market first, just because white pepper is so prevalent in like a lot of, especially like Chinese cooking specifically. Like whenever I go like to get dim sum with my kid or whoever, like I notice on the table there's always like there's usually like salt, there's like chili oil, like sesame, and then there's like white pepper. Like I
Uh-huh.
notice that those so I make sure I have all of those, in my kitchen at all times. Not because I ever make dim sum at home, but just because, if I want to make something like really quick, like marinade or some sort of chicken, like it sort of mimics that sort of like flavor I'm looking for when I can't get to a regular dim sum place.
Are you using an instant pot at all yet?
I am not like I should get one. I think the reason I've hesitated to get like a lot of different cooking tools now is because lack of counter space. I'll be completely honest with you.
Okay.
But I recently got an air fryer, and that is pretty clutch for like heating up things like leftovers and making things crispy when they would be soggy if you put them in the microwave. And it also doesn't take the same amount of time as if you put it in in one of those like convector, like those toaster ovens. The
Uh-huh.
air fryer does it so much quicker.
So
But in a lot, I've heard good things because my sister has one.
you're using an air fryer, uh, not a microwave to reheat stuff?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
my hack.
I fucking hate my microwave, but I find myself having to use it maybe once or twice a week, but I don't like to use it. But like, I really wish I only used it for those rice packages right now. But I think, okay, I think an air fryer. Okay, so my
Yeah, like
takeaway from this conversation with Ivy is an air fryer and onion powder from Trader Joe's, and then once I'm gonna mess with the onion powder for about a week or two. Then I'm gonna go looking for the white powder, which that
yeah.
I'll probably forget. I'll probably have to message you and say, what was that other thing you said?
White pepper, and don't forget the thing from Trader Joe's. I mean, you can get garlic and onion powder anywhere. The thing that's specifically from Trader Joe's is their mushroom umami seasoning. I don't know the full name of it, but it's in the same. Of course, it's in the same section as you get like all those other seasonings. You know, like the elote seasoning and the everything but the bagel seasoning.
Got it.
You know, like just all that shit is there. Like there's so much Trader Joe's in my cabinet right now. I'm not even ashamed to admit it. Like
I go to Trader Joe's probably 5 times a week.
Same. I'm probably gonna go get coffee and go after this. My routine, especially since me and my son are pretty much the only people that leave the house because I'm quarantined with my parents. I told you this at the previous podcast that we worked on together.
Okay.
And they were supposed to leave in March, and they obviously cannot leave because if they go back to the Philippines, they'll be quarantined for 2 weeks in some bullshit hotel that may or may not be as nice as their nice upscale condo. So they've just been here ever since. And so because they're considered a risk group, and my parents are actually really, really healthy. Like my dad works out in the backyard, like with me when I'm doing workouts. He's there working out right next to me. So, but that being said, they're still like almost 70. And so it's just safer for me to be able to go out. So as a result, like I was like, this is how DoorDashers feel. Like shit, I'm driving everywhere. Like I remember, I think there was one day where I went to Trader Joe's like 3 times, and then they sent me to Whole Foods for something that was like completely obscure to me. Like I had to look it up, and I know my food. So the fact that I didn't know what this was, I was like, okay, I'm gonna ask somebody that knows what they're talking about. And then in that same week, I had a gig for an actual live show in Santa Rosa. I was like, my car has gone through so many fucking tanks of gas. I was like, I'm so tired. But this is what happens when you're the only person that really kind of like drives and goes out places.
You know what? We haven't talked about comedy at all, which I don't mind, which is great. But when we were on Gag on this, you had a lot of really nice things to say about doing comedy in Bakersfield. Well, I think maybe particularly the show that you were doing in Bakersfield. And I was saving this for our podcast because in the back of my mind, I always knew I was going to have you on my podcast eventually.
Yeah.
I grew up in Bakersfield. Well, I grew up in Lamont, which is like a suburb of Bakersfield, but like that's what you did. You went into town for everything, right?
Yeah.
So I grew up in Bakersfield, and I moved away from Bakersfield in 2013 to come to Sacramento to work. And so Bakersfield is home. And when I started doing comedy, I realized that it's a little bit of a hub of comedy because it's like it's so close to LA, and and in the last like year and a half, like Jessica De La Garza, Jessica De La Rosa, there's another Jessica down there that is like producing shows, and there's a few guys that are producing shows, and it's really becoming a nice little comedy hub.
Absolutely. Like the person I've worked with primarily that comes out of Bakersfield is Tyson Paul, who runs We Own the Laughs. Have you heard of that one?
I've heard of that, and I've heard that name. Yeah, Tyson Paul. Yes.
Yeah, Tyson's become a really close friend, and like the way that we met was actually I don't know if I ever talked about this on the Gag on Me podcast, but the way that me and Tyson met was like I think he added me on Instagram. He actually found me on Instagram, and then he messaged me, and he was just like, hey, your humor, it's like you're the type of person we'd want to have on our show. Would you ever, consider coming down to Bakersfield for a show? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Just, let me know when you have something. And then not too long after that, one of my friends who had just moved to Bakersfield, she had just seen me do a show in Dave & Buster's in San Jose back when they were having those shows. And she messaged me and she was like, your show was great. When are you coming to Bakersfield? And so I tagged Tyson in the post. I was like, when am I going to Bakersfield? And Tyson was like,
perfect.
What about January? And I was like, I did not expect him to respond that quick. I thought he was gonna be like, okay, well, let me check, because most people, like, when you talk to them about like getting on shows and stuff like that, they'll just be like, okay, well, I'll see. Let me check my schedule. I'll get back to you. Of course,
yeah.
everybody goes through that when you first start out as a comic. When you're in a position where you still have to talk to people about being on your show, about being on shows, and so yeah, I just tagged him. I was like, what's up? And he was like, January, cool. And so I remember We Own the Laughs used to be out of this like small Mexican restaurant, and then he expanded it and brought it to all the major comedy clubs up and down California. And I think with maybe the exception of one show, I've been on almost all of his shows. So that's been like, we've had a really good like working collaboration. I participated in the series when he taped it. It was supposed to premiere on Amazon Prime back in April, but with the Rona, of course, everyone's specials, everyone's shows got delayed. Our show got delayed. AJ DeMello's special got delayed. So, for the time being, I think you can actually view the episodes on YouTube. But no matter what, like, he's one of my favorite people to work with. Whenever I have opportunities in Bakersfield, like, that's people like, I don't know if it's fair for me to say people overlook it, but I feel like maybe people that think it's only possible to do comedy in the Bay Area or in LA, I'm like, I would encourage them to expand your horizons, because there's a lot of places up and down the rest of the state that love comedy, and they're so like, they get super excited. Like, those audiences, they fucking love them some comedy, especially out of towners. And I think it used to intimidate me, especially being in some of those small towns, like looking like this. But for the most part, I think if you're funny and relatable, you can make that shit work.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, it's a town that is always gets a bad rap. Like in the 70s and 80s, Johnny Carson used to pick on Bakersfield all the time, like constantly in his monologue. And but it is still a great town, and it is a very, very diverse town.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So I was really happy to hear you saying so many great things about Bakersfield, and I was like, I'm going to save this for my podcast.
Absolutely. Like, so many people, like one of my very close friends. I don't know if you've ever worked with Jean Yi.
No.
She's from, I met her in the Bay Area, but I think she actually grew up in Bakersfield.
Really?
So like, her trajectory was like Bakersfield to, I think, the Bay Area. She went to Stanford for college like years ago. She's like maybe a year older than me, so we're like the same demographic. And then she found comedy a few years ago, and we finally met. And I had no idea. Like, I thought she'd grown up in the Bay like me. And no, she was like, no, I grew up in Bakersfield. I was like, wow.
Yeah, so, we can adapt easily.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I always feel like when people talk about places like Bakersfield, I feel like that's sort of the same stuff that maybe people say about Hayward. And I have had only the most fantastic experience growing up in Hayward. So,
the thing is that, like, I hear the things about Hayward, right, that you say, but everyone that I've ever met from Hayward is exactly as down to earth and genuine as you are.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Like, I've loved, like, whenever, like, when it used to, I never used to mention Hayward before, because nobody, like, hardly anyone I felt knew where it was. But like, in the last 3 years that I've been like working as a comic and going to more places outside of the Bay Area, whenever somebody introduces me as, coming from San Francisco, I'm like, first of all, I'm not from no fucking San Francisco, with all due respect. Like, I'm from fucking Hayward. Like, I grew up in Hayward. That's where I lived. That's where that was the first place we lived when we first moved to California. That's where I live now. It's always going to be a part of me, no matter where I go. Like, I am not from, with all due respect to San Francisco, people from SF are really proud of being from SF. Good for them. Like, I'm also really proud of being from Hayward.
Yeah. I had a weird feeling the first time I got introduced as a Sacramento comic, because like, I was like, I'm from Bakersfield, but
yeah,
I didn't do any of this shit in Bakersfield though. So like, I've embraced the Sacramento comic thing, because it was in Sacramento. Like, when I was in Bakersfield, I was just a piece of shit. And like, there's when I came up here that I really was like, I literally just Googled improv Sacramento, because I wanted to do improv, and Sacramento Comedy Spot came up, and it just went from there. That was I think like 2014. I spent like 5 years messing around. Like, I did like every improv class, that like 101, 201, 301.
Yeah.
Took 301, did the musical improv. sketch writing. I was really trying everything, but like in the back of my head, like stand up was always there, but I was always like, that's too scary. There's no fucking way I'm gonna get up there and talk for 5 minutes. And like, no, now it's like, I don't like to say that I miss it, because then that just goes into the whole downward spiral of the whole COVID thing. But like, it really is like a part of my life. Like like how people like come home and couldn't wait to get their shit together and go to the gym. Like I would come home and like would just be antsy until it was time to go to the open mic or the show, or more times than not it was an open mic. But the shows were finally started to pick up. Like I had just done, like, in the week that everything got shut down, like I had done Chico for the first time. I did Sacramento Punchline for like the third time. And the following week I was going to do SF Punch with Invisible Disabilities.
Oh man, that would have been an amazing show.
And like Coral Best was going to be on it.
That's my girl.
Yeah, oh yeah, Coral's amazing. Coral's one of the girls that when I saw her, because like when I first started doing comedy, like I was like, I don't want to talk about being fat. Like I don't want to like be the subject of my own jokes, right?
Right.
But like when two things, Theo Morgan would always tell me, like he was really super cool. He'd always talk to me at open mics, and he would say, Jesse, I'm not telling you to go up there and do fat jokes, but when you go up there, you need to address the first thing that the crowd notices about you, right? And he would say it in the nicest, most polite way of like, you're dancing around it and you really can't avoid it. It was like what he was telling me, And then when I saw Coral Best at the Invisible Disabilities show, I was like, if she could talk about this, then I could talk about this,
Yeah.
And I could find it. I could find my angle, and I told myself, and if I can't find my angle and make this funny, then what I'm doing isn't right. Like this isn't for me then. And that really inspired me to tackle my own demons and while I was standing up on stage, because if she's brave enough to do it, like, I should be able to be brave enough to do it,
What's the majority of the stuff, like your subject matter, like what's the majority of the stuff that you address now? Because I think it's been a while since I've heard your set.
So now I'm like, I address my weight, I address my past drug addictions, and now I'm like even like getting comfortable enough where like I'm addressing like what my sex life is like, being this big and being this challenged and being like, the things that I've overcome and like had to adapt,
Yeah.
I'm fine with talking about like difficulties in dating and all that stuff, because it's just like it's there. And like the more you talk about it, like with some of the sex stuff, like I'll see like girls nudge their boyfriends, like, like, so but yeah, it's really, it's all where like first I tried to be an observational comic, right, of like just like things that I observed, but that wasn't me. And now I'm a lot more comfortable in my own skin and talking about my own personal experiences versus of like, you ever see two people at IKEA, like that was like one of my first jokes, like talking about watching couples shop at IKEA, but now it's like, it's more about me, like, because like,
oh, absolutely.
That's what I know the best, right, is myself.
I was trying to explain this to my coworkers yesterday because so one of the things that my actual place of employment, my actual tech job, one of the things that we've been doing over quarantine is we've been doing these series where we have happy hours and different people host the happy hours and talk about their lives, because we have my job, it's really awesome. Like we have a really diverse background of people. Like we've got people that are musicians. One of the people that I work with is an ex-NFL athlete, so of course people want to know about their stuff. And me, of course, like for maybe the first couple of years I was at that job, I tried to keep my comedy stuff on the down low. And then one day one of my colleagues walked in and was just like, weren't you just at Cobb's? And I was like, shit, right? And so, I've been more open and out, I should say, as a comic, because, I didn't know if I could do that and balance my job at the same time. But as it turns out, like, I work for a company that embraces that kind of diversity. So yesterday, I hosted a happy hour where I talked about my trajectory as a comic. And one of the questions I got was, how do you come up with material? You know what I mean? And I think I don't think I've ever sat down and wrote a joke like from scratch, like something fictional. For me, like my technique is something happens to me and I have to find a way to translate that from, what it was to something that's absorbable as a stand-up joke on stage, because there's a huge difference too between telling your friends and family like a funny story versus telling that same story and making it like translatable to the stage.
Oh
So
yeah, that's where like in the beginning I thought, oh, this is gonna be easy because I've been the life of the party for 20 years. Like,
sure,
this
yeah,
transition is gonna be easy, but like you're not telling a story in front of your 10 best friends, So that changed real. Like that was a real quick reality check. The first time that they didn't laugh, but I was like, wait, this is gold. Why don't you
right.
guys laugh more? That audience sucked.
Right. No, I get it. Like I think that's a mistake. It's like it's an understandable rookie mistake, especially since there's a lot of people that they're funny in conversation, but the challenge is, are you able to make that translate to the stage, like people that don't know you from the next person? And that was my thing. It's like when I first came back to comedy from years of like being gone, because I started in 2006. In 2000, I think 2008, 2009, I completely ate shit at the show and quit for like 8 years, and then I came back in like 2016, 2017 ish. One of the things that I discovered, sorry, I'm trying, I completely lost my train of thought, but it was related to like writing jokes. Fuck, I completely just lost my own train of thought.
That you've never been the type of person to sit down and write a joke like from A to B to C. That
Oh, you know what? Here's the thing. Like it's so I when I came back to comedy, thank you. I remember where I was going with this. When I came back to comedy, I knew already that I could make my family and friends laugh. It was just more like, could I make strangers laugh? People that don't know me from another person. And so when I decided to come back to comedy, I started doing comedy first in LA, where I knew nobody. And then I finally had the nerve, like, because I was in LA a lot for work at the time.
okay.
And so, at night I would have nothing to do. So I would go to Mike's. There was one point where I spent like 3 weeks in LA for, it was like some work related stuff. So during that time I took a intensive at UCB, which is where I took improv. And and then at night I would either watch the other shows, like the Herald shows, or I would go and just watch open mics and not participate. I would just watch other people to see what it was like, or I'd go to like the Comedy Store and see who was performing and see if there was anybody from my class that wanted to come with me. I did all that for like an entire, maybe like a summer, maybe like half a year, before I had the nerve to finally come back to the Bay Area and try it up there. Because I was like, okay, if I can make these strangers laugh, maybe I got some hope of making people that know me in the Bay. And it was years, I think, before I actually started inviting people to my shows. Because here's the thing, like I feel like young comics get sidetracked because of bringer shows, and I think bringer shows are, they're an experience. I feel like every comic should do at least one, because at least, they have people to support them. But the problem with those is that, I feel like you don't get to really grow, because of course the people around you are going to be super supportive. They're going to be like, yeah, that's my girl. But, you don't really get a critical eye, as opposed to you're doing this in front of strangers.
Yeah. It's not genuine, right? Like,
no, exactly.
You didn't have to, because like I'm sure you've had a set where like it didn't start out good, but then you fucking fought and you won them back, right? Like that would never happen in a bringer show, right?
Yeah, they'll yell for you regardless of whether you're eating shit or not.
Yeah. Another thing with another thing that could go wrong with the bringer show is that like your friends think that they're part of the show, right?
Oh, I hate that. Like it's just, I mean, thank God, my friends. I've been fortunate, because I feel like my friends, they know me, and so they know better than to do that shit to me. But like I see that shit happening to like other people. Their friends get super comfortable, especially if their friends get super drunk, and then they feel like they're doing a back and forth with the audience, and I'm like, this is not what I wanted.
That's another thing about bringing shows, like you said, if they get super drunk, is like you're getting like 20, 30 people at a comedy show that don't normally go to comedy shows.
Yeah, they don't know how to act. They don't know the etiquette. They don't know how to shut up. And they think, they're mistaking crowd work for an actual conversation. It's like, no, motherfucker, this person doesn't actually want to know your opinion or have a conversation with you. This is part of the show. Like, just shh.
Yeah, yeah, man. It's been a great first 2 years of comedy for me, even with this downtime, and then getting the podcast back up on its feet, and then pushing it over to YouTube, and forcing me to grow, because like I was stagnant from like March till about mid-July. Like I wasn't doing anything, like.
Really?
Yeah, I used to record the podcast in my living room. Like I took down all of the recording equipment, and it was kind of depressing for a while. Then I focused on the weight loss, but then I think when I hit that when I knew I was gonna hit that milestone of breaking the 400 barrier, like I started just like, oh, I'm fucking on, this is where I want to be. It inspired me to get the podcast back up. Watching Gag on This take it to where they were posting it on YouTube. Like they never stopped,
Yeah.
And I really admired them for that. And then I saw other podcasts popping back up, and I was like, all right, I gotta get my shit back going again. And yeah, and here we are, and it's been great having coffee with you this morning. And
Fantastic.
yeah, and before we go, I'm gonna wrap it up soon, but I want to plug. I have your so over here I have your Facebook, your webpage, and your Instagram up on my other monitor.
Nice.
And you've got August 11th, Sally Tomatoes.
That was earlier. That was the show I was referring to earlier this week.
Okay, yeah. So next week you've got August 21st, Benicia Mom's group comedy night on Zoom at 7 p.m. August 27th, you've got Valerie Vernell and Friends Comedy Show. Dude, you have set, in my eyes, you have set the standard for fucking just taking on the Zoom era of comedy. Like you just jumped in. Did you hesitate at all?
No, and the reason why is because, like, look, I know it's not ideal. Like nobody's ever gonna look at a Zoom show and be like, "This is the future of comedy." Like, absolutely not. Like, I feel like at its best, it's a cool like comic hang. Sort of like what we're doing right now. You know what I mean? You get to see it. Like, it's almost like you're virtually hanging out with comics that you would have been hanging out with in the green room anyway. Nice to see everybody, nice to catch up and things like that. At its worst, maybe it's like 4 other people and you're all just trying to make each other laugh. And, either way, like, I feel like it's worth a shot, because there's people that are just like, I don't want to do Zoom shows. Like, we know that it's no substitute for the real thing, but I feel like there's also some advantages to it. I've been working with people that are in New York, in Canada, in LA, people for whom, I probably would have crossed paths with them at some point, but it's just like, it would have also probably required like things like logistical things like traveling and, making sure someone can watch my kid, making sure it doesn't conflict with any of my work shit, all that.
Yeah.
And so like I've looked, I try to have a positive attitude towards it, because, live comedy, even though venues they're starting to adapt and adjust as they should, given that this is like sort of our new normal, there's just so many opportunities out there to even just get to know other people and, see other people and get your name out there. I think one of the fun things that I did was when I got connected with the Crazy Woke Asians folks. Like, I'd been trying to get on that live show for years. And, now when the world stops burning, maybe because I've done, their festival, and because I've done their, Asians for Black Lives, like those are really important shows, hopefully I've got some contacts that I can refer to and things like that. It's just been really cool. I know there's some people that are like anti-Zoom because they feel like it's not the same rush as like being a live audience. But, for those of us that can't afford to put our family members at risk, this is the next best thing. And I'm like, I'm just going to lean into it with all my heart. And, hopefully some good comes of it. And, I think it has, because, there's been people that have actually enjoyed being able to see Zoom shows, people that normally would be like, man, I've got 2 kids. I don't think I have time for this. But you know what? Now you can settle in with a glass of wine and hear me talk about dicks in your own living room. Like, I was there.
I've been on a couple of Zoom shows, and it's really funny to just see people like kicking back, like, and you get to see like how different people like do their interneting. Like Some people are at their desk. Some people are like laying in bed, like looking at a phone, and like
Yeah.
it's just I don't know. It's and I think most importantly, uh, yeah, you really put a lot of emphasis on this. We're networking and we're flexing the muscle of like just making people laugh spontaneous, oh, instantly.
I know what you mean. We
Woo!
need more coffee, Jesse.
Yeah, we're
Both
making
of
people
us.
laugh on the spot. But Ivy, I appreciate the hell out of you, and I'm glad we finally got to sit down and have this conversation. And I'm pretty sure we're gonna do shows together in the future. Like,
Yes, please.
yeah.
Yes, please. I mean, I'm always down to roll the sack. I
Oh yeah.
always tell people. I
Well,
always tell people. Sacramento is like one of my favorite places to perform comedy.
we had started. So my improv team, we had started doing like shows at Luna's. So behind me is
I
a
remember
poster.
that.
Behind me is a poster from our December show at Luna's where we had Emma Haney, Emily Peterson, and Janae Levering. And then like in February or no, in March, the last time we were at Luna's, we had Tina San Lucas, Johnny Taylor, Alicia Davis.
All solid folks.
We were supposed to be at Luna's in June, and we wanted to do a LGBT themed show. And we were gonna, there was a handful. I hadn't booked anybody yet, but we had just like right before everything got shut down, I had just emailed Art and said, okay, we want this date. And as soon as because he gave me like a choice of 3 dates, you could have one of these 3 dates. And we had just emailed Art, said, we want this date. And Emily and I were just starting to toss comics names up in the air as to like who we thought we could get and who we wanted to headline. But that never got to happen. But we're definitely going to want to do shows at Luna's again. And
Of course.
yeah, so we're gonna work together. I know we will, and I'm so glad we're pals now because
Yay.
I spend a lot of time like I pay attention to like everybody, and I'm sure you do too. Like
Always.
you
Always.
see who's talking and you see who's grinding. You know?
I try. Like I really try. Like it's and I moderate the the Bay Area comedy network. I'm one of those people that moderates
We
it.
didn't talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so for me, like it feels like almost like pretentious whenever I hear a comic from the Bay Area say like, and I talk about like another comic that's not from the Bay Area, and they're just like, I don't know who that is. Like for me, like really, like you're in that little bubble that you don't take the time to know other people and other scenes. And you know what I mean? For me, like it's important to know who other people are and what the other scenes are like elsewhere because I don't want to ever be pigeonholed as like a Bay Area comic that only knows what it's like to work within the confines of like that thing. Like I like to expand. I like to, like I said, network. I like to get to know people. I want to have pals up and down the state. So, like I want us all to like, we all need each other. You know what I mean? Like we all need to like work together, help each other out because we ultimately all want the same thing here.
Yeah.
And I feel like, the more pleasant people are about it and the more people look at it as, like networking versus competition, I think that makes it more pleasant for everybody. Like I don't ever want to be in a green room situation and, not feel like I'm welcome there or people feel like they're not welcome when they're around me. Like I don't ever want to give people that impression.
Yeah, I don't ever want to have that outsider feeling, right?
Yeah. Which is why I value so much when people actually want to like connect on a more personal level and actually talk to you like a regular human being.
Yeah, and that's absolutely what we did today. I think we accomplished that. And,
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming on a Saturday morning. And I'll get this up probably tomorrow. The YouTube will go up tomorrow night. The YouTube will go up tomorrow night, and the audio will go up Monday. So
keep me posted. We'll
I will
connect
definitely keep
soon.
posted, and I will tag you and all that fun stuff. And thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me, Jesse. I'll talk to you soon.
It's so weird to like not shake your hand or like.
I know, like fist bump, like hey.
Yeah, like, yeah, we can do the fist bump, yeah.
All right.
But, take care, and I'll see you around, and we'll keep trading Trader Joe recipes.
Absolutely, we'll chat soon. Like, well, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll catch up with you soon.
Nicole Eichenberg said to tell you hi.
I love Nicole. Is she feeling better?
Oh yeah. We're
right.
We're hosting a we're gonna be on a Netflix party at 11 o'clock, and we're watching the Twilight Zone.
That's gonna be fun. Well, tell her I
Yeah.
said hi, and you guys have an awesome time.
Okay. All right. Take care, Ivy. I'll see you around.
Take it easy, Jesse. Thank you.
Peace.